35 pounds. That is all we are talking about today. 35 pounds for 100 milliliters of Eau de Parfum from one of the most iconic fragrance houses in the world. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Calvin Klein? Really? Is this a proper fragrance review or an airport duty-free ad? Stick with me. Because Eternity Aromatic Essence for Women is not the Calvin Klein your mom spritzed on before the school run in 1995. This is a more sophisticated, more refined, more modern interpretation of one of the great classic houses. And at this price point, it is genuinely turning heads. So let us get into it. Calvin Klein as a fragrance house does not always get the credit it deserves in the enthusiast community. And I understand why. When you think of CK, you think of CK1, you think of obsession, you think of mass market, supermarket shelves, gift sets at Christmas. But here is the thing. Calvin Klein was doing minimalist, clean, American luxury before it was a trend. The original Eternity launched in 1988, and it was genuinely groundbreaking. It captured something about a certain kind of timeless femininity, soft, floral, warm, but never fussy. It became a bestseller for a reason. It resonated. And the Aromatic Essence line is Calvin Klein acknowledging that their legacy deserves a modern upgrade. These are more concentrated, more complex, more considered. They are not trying to reinvent the wheel. They are trying to remind you why the wheel was invented in the first place. Right? Let us talk about the bottle, because this is where Calvin Klein consistently delivers. The Eternity Aromatic Essence bottle is clean, minimal, and genuinely elegant. It is a rectangular flacon with soft, rounded edges. Nothing aggressive, nothing trying too hard. The glass has a slight warmth to it, a very faint blush tone, depending on the light, and the stopper is simple and solid. It feels substantial in the hand. Not heavy for the sake of heavy, but weighted in a way that suggests quality. The Calvin Klein lettering is embossed cleanly on the front. Understated. Confident. No excess. The cap clicks on firmly. No rattling, no looseness. On your dressing table, this looks genuinely premium. It would not look out of place next to a Chanel or a Joe Malone. For the price, the presentation is frankly excellent. The box itself is crisp, the typography is restrained, and the whole thing communicates a kind of quiet luxury. It does not scream at you. It does not need to. Okay. First spray. This is the moment of truth. You spritz once on the wrist, you wait about 3 seconds, and then you bring it to your nose. And what hits you first is this gorgeous, slightly aromatic freshness. There is a green quality here. Not sharp, not harsh, not that synthetic grass note you get in cheaper fragrances. This is softer, almost herbal, like standing in a garden just after rainfall where everything is slightly damp and intensely alive. There's a brightness to the opening that is immediately appealing. It is clean without being cold. It has personality. The projection in those first few minutes is confident. This is not a shy fragrance. Spray this in a room and people will notice. Not in an overwhelming way, but in a way that makes someone look up from what they are doing and think, what is that? The opening is the kind that makes you want to keep sniffing your own wrist, which is always a good sign. It announces itself with confidence, but without aggression. Elegant from the very first second. Give it about 15 to 20 minutes, and the heart starts to reveal itself, and this is where Eternity Aromatic Essence really begins to show you what it is made of. The aromatic quality starts to deepen, and what emerges is this beautifully warm, slightly floral core. There is a softness here, a roundness, that feels incredibly wearable. It is feminine, without being in any way weak or one-dimensional. There is a gentle floral quality, something that reminds you of white flowers on a warm evening, but it is balanced by that underlying aromatic character that keeps it from tipping into saccharine territory. What I find interesting about this middle stage is how it wears. It starts to pull closer to the skin. The projection softens, but the quality intensifies. It becomes more intimate, more personal. This is the stage where the fragrance stops being something you are wearing and starts being something that is actually becoming part of you, merging with your skin chemistry. For some fragrances, that transition is jarring. Here it feels completely natural. It evolves seamlessly. About 45 minutes in, there is a warmth that creeps in, a creaminess almost, that just makes the whole thing feel incredibly comforting and luxurious. Now, the dry down. This is where I judge a fragrance hardest, because this is what you are actually wearing for the majority of the day. The top notes get all the attention, the heart gets all the romance, but the dry down is the truth. And honestly, Eternity Aromatic Essence has a beautiful dry down. Several hours in, what remains is warm, slightly musky, deeply comforting. The aromatic and green qualities have settled into something that feels almost cashmere-like on the skin. There is a softness here that is genuinely lovely. It reminds me of a kind of sophisticated skin scent, something that reads as almost natural, as though the fragrance has become entirely your own. There is warmth without heaviness. There is sweetness without cloying. The base feels grounded and secure, and that musky quality that emerges gives the whole fragrance this deeply wearable, skin-hugging character. If you are someone who loves fragrances that feel like a second skin in the later hours of wear, this will absolutely satisfy you. It is not dramatic. It is not showy. But it is beautiful in a quiet, confident way. Let us be precise here because this matters. On skin, I am getting a solid 7 to 8 hours of genuine wear. The fragrance does not disappear. It transitions from that more projecting opening into that closer skin scent character, but it is there throughout. Now, the marketing suggests 8 to 12 hours, and I think 12 hours is optimistic on skin for most people. On clothing, however, this is a different story entirely. I sprayed this on a scarf and was still getting it clearly the following day. On fabric, this really does perform. Sillage, that is the trail you leave as you walk through a room, is moderate to good in the first couple of hours, then it dials back to something more intimate. This is not a room filler for the entire day. Do not expect your colleagues to comment on it from the other side of the office at hour 6. But in those first 2 hours, the projection is genuinely impressive for this concentration and this price. If you want to amplify it, spray on pulse points and on clothing. That combination will absolutely see you through a full day and beyond. Right, who is this actually for? In terms of season, I think this works beautifully across spring and autumn. That sweet spot where the weather is transitioning, where you want something that has warmth without being a heavy winter fragrance. It can absolutely work in summer as well, particularly in the evenings. I would not lean on this as a primary winter scent. It is not dense enough, not rich enough for those really cold, dark days. Occasion-wise, this is incredibly versatile. Office-appropriate, absolutely. The sillage is not going to offend anyone in a shared space. Daytime wear? Absolutely. But I also think it transitions beautifully into an evening context. It has enough sophistication and that warm, dry down to feel appropriate for dinner, for a date, for a special occasion. In terms of personality, if you are someone who values elegance over statement, who prefers a fragrance that is noticed rather than announced, who likes that idea of a fragrance that is your own signature rather than something everyone recognizes from 10 feet away, this is for you. Age-wise, I think this skews slightly towards someone who has moved past the phase of wanting to smell like a sweet dessert. There is a maturity to this fragrance. But honestly, anyone from mid-20s upward who appreciates refined, aromatic femininity will connect with this. 35 pounds for 100 milliliters. Let us do the maths. That is 35 pence per milliliter. In the current fragrance market, where you can easily pay 2 to 3 pounds per milliliter for a niche or designer fragrance, that is genuinely outstanding value. Now, is this a 5-star, change-your-life, niche-beating masterpiece? No. I want to be honest with you. This is not going to challenge your Maison Margiela replica or your Byredo. But it is not trying to. What it is trying to do is give you a beautifully made, genuinely wearable quality Eau de Parfum at a price that makes it accessible to everyone. And on those terms, it absolutely delivers. I would give this fragrance a solid 7.5 out of 10. It loses points for longevity, not quite reaching the upper range of those marketing claims, and the sillage in the later hours is modest. But it gains points for that exceptional opening, the beautiful dry down, the quality of the bottle, and most significantly, that price-to-performance ratio, which is frankly hard to beat. You can pick this up right now from P11, that is P11.com, and I will put the link in the description below. They stock the full 100 milliliter bottle, and the price there is excellent. I always recommend checking them out if you are looking for genuine fragrances at competitive prices. So where does that leave us? Calvin Klein, Eternity. Aromatic Essence for Women is a fragrance that rewards patience. The opening is beautiful, the heart is warm and genuinely elegant, and the dry down settles into something that feels personal and luxurious. It is not going to break the bank. It is not going to intimidate anyone in a room. But it is going to make you smell genuinely wonderful, and it is going to do it day after day without you having to think too hard about it. For 35 pounds, that is a remarkable thing. Sometimes a fragrance does not need to be the most complex, the most talked about, or the most controversial thing on your shelf. Sometimes a fragrance just needs to be quietly, consistently excellent. And this one is. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you own Eternity Aromatic Essence? What do you make of it? Has it surprised you the way it surprised me? Or do you think Calvin Klein still has something to prove in this space? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found this review useful, you know what to do. See you in the next one.